Hey guys, coldbrew here. Welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. Guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel yet, please consider doing so. It definitely helps me out. So let's get started. Today's video is going to be all about epic champions and which ones you shouldn't be empowering. You shouldn't be using their duplicates in order to get them stronger. Why am I saying that? I'll explain that in the video, but there are some champions which are the exception, and there's a reason why for that. So before we get started, I just want to introduce what empowerments are and how we reached this point in my thoughts. Of course, we had the empowerments for legendary champions, which made them much stronger than epics. That definitely makes sense. The gap was just so much that no longer you would see Madame series being used in the arena. You would no longer see champions that sometimes would find some use in the arena. Way back when I started playing, not on that time, not in 2019, but 2021, 2022, you still see epics being used in arena. But after empowerments were introduced, I believe it was 2023, it just made such a difference that they fell out hard. And that is how Plarium, I think, introduced the empowerments today. Not only for just bringing them up to par a little bit, well, up to par would be an exaggeration, but they're giving them some power that they were missing back through the empowerments. You use the duplicates, you get them to get those extra stats, and those extra stats can be definitely useful. Like I have a +1 Luria here, and just through that I get 149 extra attack, which is basically 10% of what I have, all the way to 40%. If I had her fully maxed out, I will also get some bonuses such as crit damage and crit rate, which would help me get to insane stats. And Luria is one of the champions that I'm hoping for in the future to get extra copies of and get her to be more powerful. But that it's very random. It's very difficult to get that, and I just gonna go with how it is basically. But there's definitely other champions which I highly recommend players to keep duplicates of. And I'll explain why in this video by just showing what champions I have available on my account. I pretty much have every single one of the epics that you can get in the game, pretty much. And I do have many of them in duplicates, okay? I will say, you do not need to have every single one. Let me sort this a little bit better so we can see them. Let's say through affinity. You do not need to have every single one of the copies I have. I will discuss though the main ones and why those copies can play a big role for each and every one of your accounts. Okay guys, so each account is individually different. The epics can help you in different areas of the game. I will say not many out there will find use from epics that, like I will find, I use lots of these epics for versatility, for videos, stuff like that. So I do get them leveled up for just that, for content. Many players out there do not level every single one of the epics that they get unless there's a specific reason, and the majority of the players right now do the epics, level up the epics for Cursed City. That is the goal now, and that should be your goal also, which is basically the end game goal at the moment in terms of PvE, acquiring that mythical new champion, and also just gaining those merciless sets that are very powerful, much more powerful than what we were used to so far. So number one, if you ever get a copy of this one right here, Shamal, since we're looking at epics, I might as well go over Shamal. Okay, why Shamal? Why coldbrew should you be keeping copies of Shamal and not upgrading him? He's a very strong nuker. I don't use him right now, but he is used in the Hydra, and Hydra allows you to use 3 teams of 6 champions. 3 teams means 3 opportunities for you to use Shamal. I do not recommend, getting your Shamals immediately to level 60 and upgrading them and all of that once you have 3 of them, but just keeping 3 in your vault will be the way to go, in my opinion. You need the Shamals for the Hydra. They work very well because of this skill right here. Where whenever an ally receives a fear or true fear debuff from an enemy, this skill instantly cleanses that debuff. That basically helps you against the Head of Torment on the Hydra. Inquisitor Shamal is an MVP there. He gets a 4.9 out of 5. I don't know how he got a 4.9. Just people giving him a 4, I guess. And that basically has him at a lower rating. So that is a very basic example of what I'm talking about. Do not empower your Shamal immediately if you get a copy of him. Just keep the extra ones because you might need them for the Hydra. They're just that powerful. And after you get comfortable with the Hydra, maybe it will be time for you to empower him. But until then, honestly, you'll be summoning and getting more and more copies of him. So eventually you'll be getting your 3 Shamals stronger and stronger. So you might even keep them. I don't know. Who knows? There might be some other content in the future that the copies will be useful for. Another champion that you need definitely 2 copies of. 2 copies of, guys. The majority of players out there do not have a proper clan boss team just yet. Maneater allows for that, and the same thing goes for Demitha. Either Demitha or Maneater or both, keep the copies of. Why? Well, the double Maneater will help you with faction wars. Double Maneater can help you with clan boss. I am still using my double Maneater team called the Bat Eater team. Thousands of video by now probably on YouTube. This guy just works so well. He has the unkillable plus the block debuff buff available to the squad. So having that in mind, why would you sacrifice the second one to make this guy stronger? You get to, and then you can start thinking about sacrificing them. Same thing goes for Demitha. There's teams using Demitha to Demithas in order to make a clan boss team a more budget friendly team with Demithas. So I guess so. Keeping 2 would be the wise choice. I personally don't have 2. I never thought I would need to, since I can build a clan boss team with 1 if I ever wanted to. But for players out there who just happen to get the 2 of them, keep the second one for your clan boss team. If your clan boss team is fine, you can probably sacrifice the second one. But if you have thoughts, okay, my clan boss team still needs improvement, I still need to push for Ultra Nightmare, then the Demitha will be the one. I would say you can make a team with 2 of them plus other champions such as Painkeeper. There's teams out there. If you search for them, you'll find them, and it's going to be useful. So the next one I would highly recommend keeping dupes of is Husk. Okay, you see the +1 that I have on Husk. That is because I have so many Husks. It's just crazy. So I have 1, 2. I wish I could sort by their name. Then we have a third one. There it is. Number 3. I have 3 Husks at the moment, and it's the same reasoning as with Shamal. Okay, you can even go crazier than that. You can have 2 Husks in each Hydra team, so you need 6 Husks. But that is an extreme, and it against different affinities is not going to work as well. Why Husk is so good? He has a provoke on the A1, which you need against the Head of Decay for the Hydra, and he's got an A2, which can inflict enemy max health damage. So these 2 together by themselves are powerhouses of skills that an epic can have. And getting this guy stronger through empowerment is great, but you need him to be, you need to have multiple copies of him in order to be impactful for the Hydra. That provoke is huge for the Head of Decay, for fighting that Head of Decay. And that enemy max health damage definitely gives you lots of damage potential as an AoE. Remember, it's an AoE attack. So definitely is the number 1, you know, epic, I would say, compared to everything else to keep. Next one up, maybe I should have said this one is maybe the number 1. So Geomancer. Geomancer I have 3 copies of. Again, same reasoning. I leveled these guys up because, well, I needed to. For the Hydra, I need to have 3 copies, but it's not like now that I don't use them in the Hydra anymore, they don't have uses. I could use 1 for the Iron Twins teams that I have. I can use 1 for Hydra if I wanted to, run somehow a combo in there. And I use 1, I believe, for my the team I use for the Poison Spider on the Doom Tower. I beat that basically using a Geomancer and a heal reduction setup. So different speeds, different accuracy requirements needed for both of the teams. But the idea is there that I need the Geomancer. So having at least 2 would be the goal. 3 if you're pushing for Hydra teams. It's not going to be that impactful to give Geomancer a +4. He will get some extra stats such as accuracy, which he definitely needs. A +40 accuracy is no joke. But the extra crit rate, extra crit damage is no effect on him. Extra attack, no effect on him. Not so much effect on him. But the defense, HP, and speed are are good stats. So I can argue in the future, once you get your 4th and 5th and 6th and so on, you'll be empowering your Geomancer, and then you'll be seeing some difference in terms of the damage. It makes sense, but for now, please do not go using him just yet. Next one up, guys, I'm gonna go with you can go with Neldor. I do have Neldor. I use him a lot for the Cursed City. Neldor has a very unique skill here where he can triple hit attack with his default skill, okay, and can apply a freeze. That allows you to fight the Fire Knight version for hard quite easily. Can reduce the turn meter through this way. What does this mean? Because of this passive right here, whenever an ally places a freeze, this guy triggers. So if you have other freeze champions, he triggers his auto attack. He can trigger from a different Neldor, so you can definitely have 2 Neldors, and that is why I've built 2 of them. Okay, I've built 2 of them. Oh, didn't max out the second one, but I just had them because I thought, yeah, I'll find some use of this guy. So I thought, okay, let's just go with it. Having him empowered will help him do a little bit more damage, but really, when you're building Neldor, you're building him for utility more so than anything else. And the same thing goes for we'll reach that guy, but the same thing goes for another freeze champion that is definitely OP, and it's the what's his name? Blue Creator on the Blue. Yeah, here he is. I've got 2 copies of him. We'll come and cover him in just a bit. Might as well. Okay, I'll call it now. This guy, keep 2 copies of. He works very well together with a Neldor. You'll need him for the Cursed City. He's just that amazing. Just keep the 2 copies of. You will not regret it. It's definitely the use case for not empowering. It's a perfect example. And then we go over to I think out of all the 4 champions, I think I'm okay. Everything else, you definitely start empowering. There are some callouts for specific epics depending on where you are pushing for Cursed City, but new players out there shouldn't really worry about any of the other epics. I would say from what I'm looking at the moment, that I could really call out that this epic is amazing. You need 2 copies of. So let's have a look at the Magic champions, right? Magic champions, I would say Ugo is a good example of having 2 of them. I've got 2 of them, basically built the same. They work. Ugo is a legendary on the Hydra, can work so well because of the block buffs and the defense that she does. Also has a cleanse, can potentially also revive, but that is just a weird situation to happen. And then same kind of deal with the Husks is Royal Guard. I know he has fallen off because, well, the enemy max health champions fall off after a while, after you start picking up some legendaries. But Royal Guard, it's still very much worth it. You can make very nice teams for, let's say, the Spider. All right, I do not regret having 3 Royal Guards with blessings, all of them. It does matter later on. So 3 of them, it's not 2 of them minimum. 2 of them minimum, I would say. You can start thinking about the 3rd one after a while. But if Hydra is something that you're not comfortable yet, still, the Royal Guards will give you a lending hand, assuming you don't have anything else. Always, guys, always assuming that. And then we go down the list. We have Alure. Alure is just no reason to bring in any other introduction rather than her A1. All right, decreasing turn meter by 25% on each critical hit. What can I say? It's the best thing ever. It's an insane skill for the Dark Fae boss on the Doom Tower. You use this and you basically deplete the boss's turn meter. You use this for the normal Fire Knight. There's many situations where this skill can be useful for controlling turn meter. Having 2 of them just makes it that easy. And empowered Alure will only potentially give you some benefit when you have the extra accuracy, the extra crit rate, and the speed. But that's pretty much it. She does not benefit that much from the attack. She does not benefit that much from the HP or defense, other than just surviving and doing a little bit more damage. So keep 2, please, and you will not regret it. And then we go down the list. I know I have some of these as duplicates. I will not call them out because I don't feel like they deserve to be in any of this kind of discussion. You will, of course, also have to keep some copies because of the way that the faction guardians work. So keep that in mind for each faction you'll eventually have to keep some copies of, regardless of whether you want to be empowering them or not, because you want the empowerment, you want the faction bonuses over the empowerment bonuses. You want your whole faction to be powerful and not just the empowered ones. And then finally, on the spirit champions, like you can see, I've empowered Fire King the Fat. There's some use cases for 2 of them. I don't think it exists for the most part. A strong Fire King the Fat is much better than having 2 weak ones, I would say, unless you're running some sort of crazy ally attack team for clan boss or something. But as we go down the list, guys, there's some champions that I can call out for Cursed City, like double Morak could be very nice. Having double Magnar could be very nice, but these are very niche situations where you've reached that point where you're pushing in the Cursed City that you really could use a second Magnar with a 5-star blessing to just really nuke that wave out, right? But for the most people out there, you're not gonna really need it. Rockbreaker is one that I will call out, even though he's a Cursed City champion that I used. I will call him out, and I will say, save 2 copies of. He's just, it feels such a hard to get epic that I have to call it out so you can keep this guy. He is very strong for the Cursed City for controlling. Provoke plus a passive that helps him take way less damage when he gets attacked. So with that in mind, just keep 2 copies of this guy. He's just so nice, and I do not regret leveling up the second one. Definitely a very strong epic. And then as we go down the list, basically, there's other epics, again, that I can call out, but I don't feel like you'll get such use out of these epics compared to all of the champions that I've called before. Oh, Vogoth, if you're struggling with the Bomo boss on the Doom Tower, double Vogoth all the way. Pretty much works. No question about it. Triple Vogoth was something we used in the past. Have that in mind, guys, before you just sacrifice him. I know Vogoth will get some nice bonuses from the +1, +2, +3, +4. But 2 copies of this dude is pretty much required to do some fun stuff also, if you ever feel like it. Because they heal each other using their passive, where whenever this champion's attack, heals all allies by 50% of damage received. So it's pretty cool when this combo is together, especially for Bomo. It helps you survive that nasty boss. So before I close off the video, and I know it went a little bit longer than I thought, I will also call out that do not break your epic faction bonuses just so that you can empower some stuff. The 6 speed, 10 defense, all of these buffs are better than what you get individually for one epic, rather than just breaking the whole faction. Just use these buffs, use some of the dupes, get your bonuses here, and then start considering the +1s, +2s, and +3s. And also before you go ahead and start sacrificing champions for epics, have a look at this list for the epics that are needed to empower your unique epics. These epics can only be acquired from the Doom Tower, okay? And except for Geomancer, which is a referral epic. So why am I saying these? Because all of these epics, you basically only have to empower once. You cannot have dupes of them, of Akoth, of Darkhail, of Lyburga. You cannot have dupes of them. All right, but all of these are just extremely useful in all of the end game content. I want to say no, late game content. Late game content, you're gonna use all of these. End game, I guess Gwyneth. Well, if Cursed City is considered end game, all of these can be used in the end game. Yeah, so getting all of these powerful, as powerful as you can, should be your goal. So yeah, especially Darkhail. I'm using him in my dragon team, so why shouldn't you? Please go ahead and use him. You'll not regret it. He works so well. Have that in mind. Check your epics that I have, like Theresk there. I have no idea if I have copies of her to make Rian a little bit better, but it does affect them, and it does make them stronger. So you'll have some extra epics for these to consider before starting to sacrifice them. Like Kaden, you can definitely use 2 Kadens for Cursed City, but Gwyneth is also nice to have her more powerful. So that's what I will be doing personally before anything else. So that was the video, guys. Just a video going against the thought, oh, which epic should I empower? If you can, you should empower all your epics. But what you really need to focus on, okay, which epics do I keep dupes of? And why do I keep the dupes of? Do I just keep them just because cold brew said? Well, you gotta think a little bit where your goals are within the game, always. Like the champions that I mentioned for Hydra. If you got Hydra teams already, it's obvious that you don't need to have the copies of. But if you're not at that point yet, it will help, and they will help for sure. So better make sure you're not sacrificing things just blindly, just because you're getting excited by the extra stats your champions are getting. So that was the video for today, guys. Thank you all for watching and supporting the channel. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next one. See ya.